Hello, my name is Jonathan Kvarfordt. I am the VP of Marketing at OneMind, and today I'm going to walk you through my competitive research flow. Hopefully, this will make sense as we go. But I personally use this as the image I wanted to kind of showcase what we're doing here. But I use Perplexity for this, and I'll tell you a few reasons why as we go through the workflow. But the goal is, I had someone ask me once, like, hey, we have so many competitors that are both existing and then ones that pop up all the time. How are we going to keep track of this? And so I personally like Perplexity when it comes down to their accuracy of research and web scraping and so on. Like Perplexity, in my opinion, is the best in the market. And with their new computer product, which is kind of like a Claude Cowork, but I use Perplexity Computer because I could use it on my phone, my laptop, and I can still work as I go. So it made it easier for me to work as I was going through my day, and because again of its ability to scrape the web and kind of better accuracy on results that's happening. So what I have happening, I'm sure you have something like this too, is that we need to understand like a couple things. One, existing competitors, both large and small. Two, competitors that we don't know about that could like get a funding raise and all of a sudden become competitors. Or three, as we moved into new products, if we got competitors as a result of a new product launch, what would those competitors be and how do I make sure I keep that up to date? And then lastly, I want to make sure this was a loop so that every single week when we sent out an update, that it not only looked at the past weeks, but then updated it and saying, here's the pattern you've seen over the last 4 weeks, and here's something we're seeing this week. Here's something to pay attention to, an overall narrative of the market, which is kind of cool. So every Tuesday morning, it runs at 9 a.m. And what happens was it looks at a couple different sources. It looks at Notion, as you can see here, looks at Notion, looks at the web, obviously, goes some PR tracking, looks through AP Wire, Business Wire, all these other places, and then looks at all of the big happenings in the marketplace from the big three. So like things like, do we look at the big three here? These are not accurate because I use Notebook for this, so forgive the inaccuracy. But the big three for me are what's happening in the AI space, so ChatGPT, Claude, and um, Gemini, and just understanding like what other capabilities that we're releasing. Is there any threats to us? And then we look at all of the information or news coming from anybody close to us as far as competition. And what it would do is look all that information in what's called run a cron, and it looks at the past week, and it keeps running. It says, okay, last week we had, let's just say 11X had this announcement, and this week we have this new change that's happening. It would run a full analysis inside of Slack because it has the room to do it. And then it made a summary Slack and narrative memo right here. We have a channel that goes to forum company competition. So every week it would post this and give some notes saying, here's the larger market trend analysis of like narrative around AI. Here's are some specific companies you should pay attention to, both new, existing incumbents or whatever. And then gave its notifications so that someone could go log into the dashboard. So Perplexity not only put it into Notion, but also made a dashboard that anyone could log into, look at, and then see what's going on. And then here you have market landscape. This is kind of a big one. I like keeping a tab on how people are feeling in general on AI. So this competition was not only looking at our specific competition, but also the general flow and feeling of people towards AI, just to make sure I know from a narrative point of view if I need to shift anything. And then obviously here it gives you an idea of like how I can shift this or what messaging would be recommended for me to help make sure we're in the right place as far as what we're trying to communicate to the market. And then here was we update the competitor logs. So like, for example, it could be that competitor A came out with a new product launch last week. If that happens, I need to make sure that my competitor battle cards for my sales team are updated. So what it did is it not only gives me the review of the week on the specific competitor, but also goes into my Notion doc and says, hey, competitor A has a new product launch that you should probably know about. Here's the feature set. Here's a list. Here's how it compares with us, and kind of updates the battle card as a result. So as you can see all this, the one important thing I would say is the biggest piece of this is context. Before I could run this, I had to inform Perplexity of like the top 10 companies that I was concerned about as a competitor. And then I had a research for me saying, look at my use cases and look at my competition and tell me if there's anybody else that I should be aware of that I don't know about. And it went out and researched all this stuff. And so now we're tracking about 28 different companies. Some are more parallel to us, but they could come into our marketplace, and others are direct competitors. So it looks at those things all the time, and it does it weekly. So if anyone launches new and I'm not aware of it, Perplexity is looking for anyone who's new in the marketplace to obviously let me know what's going on. And then in Slack, it tells me saying, hey, new competitor on the marketplace this week, bing, and it shows me the information on it. And then it automatically creates a battle card, which is nice. The other part of it too is obviously you have to know the competitors. What does your product do? Who's your ICP? Who do you care about? All of the, to me, what I would call the basic go-to-market information that you need to load in there. I have a set of skills. So if you're watching this, I would say create a set of skill.md files that describe all of these. So you have one source of truth, and then you can inform this Perplexity, or you could do this in Claude and then use Perplexity API in order to do this yourself. It's a pretty simple setup. In fact, you could probably take this recording and say, hey, recreate this for me. Um, but it's just very powerful and very nice in comparison to what we used to do before, where I was the one in charge of both product marketing and enablement, and I had to do this all manually, which is a pain in the neck, and it took me many hours. And now it just is like, it pings me every Tuesday and everything is really accurate, which is really nice. And the only time I have to change this is if someone says, hey, can you add this specific product feedback mechanism or something. So it's pretty easy to upkeep, and it's very, very nice to have.